Shadow Heart's Covenant has genuinely surprised me with how absolutely wonderful it is. I went into it with fairly middling expectations after I finished the first game. Not that the first game was bad, but all of that years and years of build-up for me just didn't really pay off in the ways I hoped it would. It was a game that definitely had good ideas and a lot of potential, but incredibly messy execution getting there in my eyes. Even with this outlook though, I was hopeful for the team and what they could do with the sequel, and where they could just take this whole shebang. So many directions and potential ideas for building upon the first game, where it ends with Alice's death, but especially World War I as a setting. But I didn't expect them to hit it out of the park, at least not this hard. Nothing is ever truly perfect, as we'll get into in due time, but this game just does so much so right for me. It manages to take almost every element from the first game and either improve it or perfect it to such a pristine shine that I'm honestly shocked it came from the same team that made the first game, to be quite honest with you. It's such a genuine, earnest, and pleasant experience that I won't be forgetting anytime soon. In ways, it makes me like and appreciate aspects of the first game that I wasn't fully on board with, but I see the vision now. Honestly, I would highly recommend, like really with most of these videos, to play the game for yourself if it interests you before diving into this. I think Covenant stands well enough on its own that you don't really need to play one to have a great time with it, but it will absolutely enhance the experience even more if you play both games. Now, while I also am gonna give the obligatory emulation, don't spend ridiculous fucking prices on video games that are basically abandonware at this point due to licensing hell and corporate indifference spiel, though in this case, the game is in the hands of Universal, who continue to do nothing with the IP to this very day, though there is hope on the horizon. I must mention here that I want to bring up two things. First, this game has some issues emulating properly. You may not have the same issues I ran into with this game, and it's by no means a nightmare to run or anything like that. In fact, it's very stable and completely fine from beginning to end if you have a setup that can run PS2 games alright, but I'm just gonna let you know what I ran into and what I absolutely recommend for those issues. So I ended up encountering two pretty easy to fix emulation issues at first. The first was that this game hates upscaling during combat, or at least it does for me. So generally, if I was trying to upscale things settings and I got into a battle, the screen would just black out completely except for the ring, but then come back once you were done with an attack. I have no clue why this happens. Looking into it, the only fix seems to be playing the game, or at least combat sections, in software mode instead, unless you don't care. It doesn't ruin or disrupt combat, but it is an annoying graphical issue that kept popping up whenever I was in hardware mode. So actually, this was fixed via an update recently. Swear to fuck, this shit always happens right after I finish playing games. Bunch of FF13 patches happened right after I finished playing those games too. I have the absolute worst luck with this shit. Anyway, hardware mode shouldn't cause this to happen anymore with the nightly builds of PCSX2. Then there's the FMV audio. This one is a smaller issue at least, but essentially sometimes the pre-rendered FMVs would sometimes just play with no audio unless I did a reset. Thankfully, this was easy to fix and is mainly an issue with how the emulator reads the game's audio, I guess. I fixed this by just switching the audio to stereo in the in-game settings, and then I never had this issue again. Now this last one is pretty fucking annoying, but it is still very dealable. So generally, if you leave a series of rooms too quick, or sometimes just because it wants to, the game will just freeze on black screens sometimes when you're exploring or going through multiple areas fairly quickly. I ran into this issue, and while some updates to PCSX2 itself have alleviated it quite a bit, I'm still encountering this issue. You may not at all, and if so, I envy the shit out of you, because once it happened to me and I had to refight a boss I beat, and that was some shit. But if you do run into this, it seems to not replicate or happen again in the same spots immediately if you reload or load a save state. It tends to just happen from time to time, and again, only if you're really rushing through. So I'd say take a minute to just like be in a room you just entered in the smaller locations, as that seemed to help generally for me. But just in case, I would also say that save states will be your friends here. I tend to try not to save state generally, as I try my best to stick with how the game is, but in this case, I had to rely on them a decent amount, just so I wouldn't have to lose a bit of progress somewhere just because the emulator didn't want to cooperate. Thankfully, the game is still very playable, but I would just maybe watch out for these, and you may not even experience what I did. You may be more lucky than me. Wanted to bring this up here too. So Pennyblood was announced while I was deep in editing the first Shadow Hearts video, and I really wanted to give this its own section because it's cool as fuck. The Wild Arms crew and the team behind Shadow Hearts combined their Kickstarters in order to fund the development of 2 new projects. The Wild Arms team is doing Armed Fantasia, which I'm really excited for, having always been interested in the Wild Arms series and really wanting to get into more of it. While the Shadow Hearts team is doing Pennyblood, which looks and sounds pretty raw as far as like concept teasers and shit goes. A lot of the art, character designs, and ideas they're presenting here are extremely rad. Honestly, it's carrying big Shadow Hearts 1 and Koudelka-ish vibes so far, which is very promising. The stretch goals and what we've seen so far from all of the teasers are very promising, and I hope they use Covenant as a base to build from gameplay and structure-wise. I'm very excited to see where this goes, and honestly pretty stoked that more PS2 era and styled JRPGs are starting to get indie projects and funding. I think that's extremely rad and exciting. Also, Black Jazz Singer Hot Vampire Lady, hell the fuck yes. It also did spectacularly well funding-wise, which is extremely exciting, hitting a ton of milestones along the way. More and more to get those horror Shadow Hearts 1 and Koudelka vibes back that I honestly think Covenant and From the New World lose. I think them establishing these strong gothic-y horror vibes right out the gate just makes me really happy. I'm stoked as fuck and I can't wait. The PS2 is fucking back, bitch. So we gotta start with the vibes, of course. Where I was hoping to see more of an extension of the cold, distant building dread horror atmosphere of the first game, this doesn't really fully do that. Not that it's not there, but calling this a horror game wouldn't really fit it honestly like it does Koudelka and Shadow Hearts 1. This game is far more JRPG with horror ideas and stylings than it is a horror JRPG anymore. But that isn't really a bad thing. Not when the vibes are this fucking aces. lush traveled through European forests, the towering holy dread of the Vatican's appointed tower, the cold oppressiveness of Petrograd, the bustling streets of Neonbashi, the beautiful stained glass beauty of Man Mariana Island, the calm unease of Le Havre, wartime hustle of the different districts of Paris. Everything about this hits a kind of interesting, cozy vibe. This world breathes and lives, feeling as if it passes time with or without your presence at all. I love exploring this game's locations so much, running around, seeing people around Cannes or Southampton, seeing people going about their business in Yokohama. Everything about each location is so well realized and alive for what the system was capable of. Everything about it is so genuine and so engrossing. I loved getting to go to new location after new location, seeing what new places the game would lay on us next, the beauty of each new area, what new things were bound to be or were about to happen there, what characters would appear, what the vibes would be. This game gives me the feeling of summer the whole way through. Even when you're in a place like Petrograd, the whole experience just screams summertime to me. A lot like the end of Small Sanctuary Dusk Alleyway in Silent Hill 3, the whole thing rings with a kind of longing for peaceful days. It's tranquil and the world is a beautiful place. This game is also stunning art direction wise for a 2004 PS2 game. Some of these areas are breathtakingly beautiful to look at. This game is a vibe, and while it is definitely different than what came before it, while not completely throwing the horror away, it is absolutely excellent in how it captures so many locations and spots so perfectly. This game's combat is perfect. Like, they did it. No notes. So remember how in the first game, I had said that I felt like while the Judgment Ring system was fun, it felt pretty unchanging as the game went on? Oh my fuck. They listened. Covenant's combat is absolutely fucking immaculately constructed. This time, the ring, its attributes, how many wedges are on it, how big or small each wedge is for each character, all of it is in your hands. You can make the ring as easy or as difficult as you want as well via the 5 mode options. Normal, which is just whatever the character's default ring is. Practice, which doesn't punish you for missing but doesn't let you hit criticals as a trade-off if you struggle with the ring. Technical, which is harder to hit due to narrower wedges, along with missing being punished by no attack being done whatsoever, with the trade-off being a good damage boost. Gamble, which is an all or nothing type ring where hitting the slim wedge counts as if you were doing multiple hits like normal, so it takes a lot of the hassle of trying to hit multiple wedges out by making it one much harder to hit wedge as a trade-off. Lastly, there's auto, which just hits the ring for you, doesn't let you use strike or hit area expands, and does the most average amount of damage possible for essentially playing the game for you. The Judgment Ring is in your hands in this game. This game can be as easy and fairly mindless or as difficult and nail-biting as you want it to be. Somebody's wedge is too small to hit? Make them bigger with items you collect and buy throughout the game. Not enough attacks in your combo and want more? You can boost it as long as you have the items to do so from the Ring Soul, who we'll get into more later on because he is fucking wonderful. It's all about messing around and figuring out what works best for you. It truly encourages player freedom with how you set up your ring and ring effects, and encourages you to mix things up in order to have winning strategies for fights. Magic even is far more modular and customizable with the crest system. With crests, you can swap magic around different party members, outside of Yuri and Karando who can't use them, and level up to add new spells to them using the Solomon's Key word puzzle maps by placing the crests in the right places in each section, which in itself makes leveling your crests fun and engaging. But that's not even the end of it, because in combat itself, we also have different modes of attacking and grouping or separating enemies, and physical and magic combos added to the mix, as well as 4 characters on the field during fights, which lends better to the chaotic energy of the fights in this game. First, we have the different modes of attack. So between everything, you have Standard, which is just a normal attack, Hard Hit, which hits enemies away from situations and is good for breaking up enemy combos, or just a little bit of extra damage, High Angle, which is good for getting enemies airborne, and Knockdown, which is perfect for keeping enemies in place. Then you got combos. Combos are perfect for dealing an absolute monstrous amount of damage on singular or even multiple targets. It tests your precision too, as you cannot miss the ring in a combo, or else you'll drop the entire combo and lose the turns of whoever was involved in that combo because of it. It feels like some very good risk versus reward going on with it, honestly. It makes combat feels so engaging, and it helps add to strategies you need to get better at planning to get enemies out of the picture faster as the game goes on and fights get harder. And you can choose how you do your combos and how you pair up your characters too, from 2 characters in a combo up to 4. It leads to such interesting and varied strategy creation for battles. I especially love when you pull off a combo with magic users and you get to see their high damage magical finisher that can wipe enemies. It's just so fucking cool and feels absolutely satisfying to get the hang of, along with everyone's unique abilities, Yuri and Karando's fusions, Anastasia's snapshot and album spells, Lucia's tarot cards and aromatherapy, which frankly, fuck her tarots, oh my god, my luck is dog shit. Her aromatherapy is great though. Geppetto's doll spells, depending on the outfits, Blanca's manifestations, Karin's sword arts. Everyone stands out and feels unique in their own interesting ways like characters did in the first game. It adds to exactly how you use characters in different fights depending on circumstances and really makes picking parties for different situations so fun to do as well. You now even can manage parties yourself and switch between them at will with the press of a button once customized to have different setups for battles if needed without disrupting your main party at all, which is really nice to see. In the first game, you had to do it through Meiyuan, which sucked total shit and baffled me as to why it was set up that way, and they fixed it and made it a ton better to use. Though I do think that the game doesn't necessarily incentivize you enough to switch around as much as it maybe should, but I think it tends to leave it so open that I love just even having the ability to. Like if I were to describe this game's combat and the way you engage with it, I would describe it as beautifully and wonderfully freeform. I do also think it's genuinely really nice that you just gain XP for everyone across the board, whether they're in your current party or not. More JRPGs should do that so you don't have to worry about leveling somebody way late into the game. But not everything can be exactly perfect, huh? The dungeon design in this game is extremely messy. Now, while not all of them are bad, my favorites actually being the Dog Shrine, Purgatory, and Mirror Palace, the main issue with a huge number of the dungeons, especially after about the halfway point of the game, is honestly just how maze-like, with long stretches of samey-looking hallways with fixed camera angles that disorient the shit out of you, they are. The only map you have being this mini-map being in the top left corner as well, which is such a bizarre fucking decision. It's extremely easy to get lost in these huge ass dungeons. Like, I am kind of flabbergasted at the decision to make some of these dungeons the way they are, with the only map being the shitty mini-map with barely a good view of anything. Like, the first game isn't perfect with its dungeons, but holy shit, at least you could generally see where you were going due to the isometric high angle, and were able to get a decent layout of the locations even if no map in that game. 2 was fairly annoying. The Neem ruins in this game are fucking horrible to navigate because of this. Same with dungeons like Idar Flame and the Battleship Mikasa with the constant party switching and the door keys. It's not fun, and frankly not good, though at least they do have a map to work with in Mikasa, which, while I don't really like it, it makes the whole thing a little more manageable. I do like that more of these dungeons do try to mix up their gimmicks and ideas though. They all feel distinct and fairly different from each other at least, and even if I don't like the way they're laid out design-wise, the visual design of some of these locations are absolutely fucking gorgeous. Again, Man Mariana Island is fucking gorgeous, like holy fuck. The stained glass Alice in Wonderland kinda aesthetic of the mansion rules. The Undead Gallery is cold, damp, and spooky in all the right ways, though it feels way too easy to get lost in here, and again, having a map here would really help, but I do genuinely adore the shit out of it otherwise. And I think that's the thing for me with the dungeons. They're visually stellar as fuck, but the lack of a map and how maze-like they tend to be in their design kills the fun of a lot of them for me. It felt like at times I had to pull up a guide in order to have a semblance of an idea of where to go, as these dungeons are mostly all fucking huge too. Idar Flame in itself is a goddamn huge maze that is so fucking big that it has a halfway point with the shopkeepers that follow you around at a save point, and I just think that's really funny, honestly. It is nice that it at least gets easier to navigate after that point, and you can teleport to the front via the shopkeepers if you need to leave. Neem ruins are pretty much exactly like that too, outside of being able to just teleport out due to story reasons. 64 tracks. The absolute goats did it again here, with 64 whole-ass tracks. We got mostly the same composers as the first time, Yoshitaka Hirota, Yasunori Mitsuda, though this time is more of a guest composer rather than a fully on-board composer like last time, and Ryo Fukuda, this time losing Masaharu Iwata, but gaining Kenji Ito as the second guest composer. Kenji Ito is known for composing games such as Tobal No. 1, seemingly most of, if not the entire SaGa series, Devil Survivor 2, one track for our Tonelico 3, or at least the track of a concert disc, I think. It's a good track. But most importantly, Chocobo Racing. We also have Tomoko Kobayashi, known now as Tomoko Imoto, who has composed on projects such as, well, mainly Shadow Hearts, though she also did some composing on a project called, I'm going to mispronounce this, Hana Ki Sou for the PS2. Otherwise, she mainly seems to be like a piano performer who has done tracks for games such as Our Tonelico as well. So yet again, pretty stacked OST here. Let's get into it with Ikaro again, the track that plays over the opening movie once you boot the game up. This song goes absolutely fucking hard, building upon the original Ikaro, whereas that was a passionate religious hymn. This song starts slow with the violin, a little bit of bass, the light piano and effects, but it soon builds into these drums that then break out into a kind of willful anger, a passionate battle cry as this journey is about to begin. A seeking of the truth with a tad bit of slower contemplation with its violin, marching drums, and piano. Absolute fucking all-timer track. Sometimes I've booted up the game just to listen to this, and also watch the really bangin' opening. It's just so fucking good. I'm probably playing it here again, and I'm sorry, but I just love it. Old Smudged Map, Europe Map is a pretty cozy interlude between each location. A nice lax travel song that gets you in a contemplative mindset before you go and tackle whatever is next. Vicious 1915 Europe Battle nails the tense vibes of the fights. The way it starts off with the fucking sexy twang of that fucking bass. The still haunting vocals, the piano, the synth, the drums, a real slick and sexy track that had me pumped up for each battle. Flame of Strain to Blaze, Tension is a perfect precursor to some of the fights. This at first tense track, the low percussion, the horns, the constant horror-ish sting that picks up until the percussion gets faster and that fucking bass picks up, the fighting spirit of the track kicking up as the cast is determined to fucking fight. Town of Twilight, Europe Town, is serene. The lax guitar, the plucks, the strings, the vibes. They make every town visited have a kind of peaceful serenity after all of the strife, a nice rest between each hard struggle. Dear My Dressmaker, the tailor fucking slaps. Clown Shoes ass beat, breaking it down with so much character and class for these goofy gays who follow you wherever you end up. These Nico DMC5 ass motherfuckers get such a goddamn bop, I love them. The name's Grand Papillon, Pro Wrestler, is just a tokusatsu type beat that completely fucks. Kamen Rider Kuuga ass beat. No fear, no pain. Crack Your Body, Europe mid-boss Berserk fucking slaps. Distorts the mid-boss theme in this panicked kind of breakdown. Nothing makes sense. Everything is collapsing. You gotta collect yourself. Callback from Jesus, Mysterious Monastery, Underground Ruins, I love these names by the way, is a spectacular explorative track. That somber piano, the holy feel to it, it's honestly just such a cozy track to explore to. Takeoff, Airship, is the kind of track I just love Shadow Hearts for, honestly. Just this kind of noisy, chaotic melody that worms its way into your head. This takeoff feeling like the start of a racetrack, signaling you to fucking go. Rasputin, Mysterious Monk, is calmly electric, going with his cold and calculated demeanor, but communicating his absolutely sinister and rancid-ass vibes. That electric surge coming in to underscore the whole thing frequently. The chant and foreboding energy it gives off is so good. Evil Gate Opener, The Fortress Appears, is fucking sick as fuck. Starting from the chant of Rasputin's track and building slowly as the beat starts to pick up more and more, quicker and quicker, faster and faster. The violin, the fucking violin. Then the other vocals kick in and holy shit, this goes off. This chaotic yet concentrated, angry presence. It slows a bit with those vocals coming back slightly distorted until they fade into a dramatic horror drumming mixed with a precursor to a battle theme and a triumphant kind of piano. Ending in tragic and worried strings, absolutely beautiful set of tracks and absolutely one of the best on here. Soul Comet Spirit of the Wolf is such a distinct banger of a song. It reminds me a lot of the round intro for like a Soul Calibur game or something, which makes perfect sense given this accompanies the wolf bouts. You've got those trumpets, those chimes, the violin. It's triumphant. Blanca's about to beat some ass. Astaroth Fallen Angel battle is also a distinct banger, an absolutely perfect track for kicking Nikolai's dumb ass. Somewhat contemplative, like the cast is in their thoughts about what they're fighting for here. The chants and vocals giving this a whole elevation of its own as well. It's fucking majestic shit. Honestly, it makes complete sense that this one is a Mitsuda track. I really like the somewhat longing horns on this one too. Not really sure how to describe it, but they remind me of a bit from Chrono Cross's OST. Just that kind of vibe. Deep in Coma, Japan battle has this perfect rhythm to it, chunky, mixed up like a perfect machine working together to get itself to your ears. The skipping bits, the vocals all help complement those wonderful drums and synth. Excellent battle theme for Japan. Inugami Village also hits with this perfect little melody, capturing the peaceful existence of this small Japanese village that's seemingly disconnected from most things. It's all vibes, all dreams and hopes and small town worries. The world doesn't feel so huge with this. You just feel stillness, anxiety's gone, everything just more manageable. I honestly just put this on when I'm stressed and need a bit of a break, which has been happening more recently with just the state of the fucking world right now. Fountain of the Holy Demon. I mean, listen to it, dude. That serene kind of calm build-up with that flute and the chimes, a low chanting and rumbling of sorts with those same chimes until this sudden, strong build-up. A mixture of things happening at once, all until that fucking breakdown hits. You lose yourself in its ritualistic chaos. It's absolutely infectious. The Fate Cluster Amaryllis hits this perfect beat of understanding tragedy. It hits everything Yuri and Kato feel towards each other at that point in the game, and the tragedy of Kato's plan so fucking perfectly. Those vocals and that sick violin breakdown hits me right in the heart. Absolutely top 5 best tracks in the game. The 3 Karma decisive battle using 3 of the composers, specifically Hirota, Ito, and Mitsuda, is a perfect choice for this fight. It's the battle of wills, each style recognizing each feeling this whole song and battle is supposed to convey. The danger, the sorrow, and the necessity of the fight. Each part and aspect just perfectly tuned and bridged together. It's a fucking beautiful track. Wow, just holy shit. There's so many tracks on this that mean a lot to me at this point. So I decided to rewrite this end portion as I was editing the video actually. The main reason I decided to do this was because I kept having this weird feeling while re-listening to a lot of the music again in the edit after re-listening to a lot of the soundtrack in general while writing the section initially. While I do really dig a lot of this soundtrack, like I just said, I definitely don't really adore it as much as the first game's OST, even if I do think that certain specific tracks are absolutely better or superior in this game's OST. It doesn't hit nearly as hard on every single level like the first game's OST does. I feel like while there are wonderful tracks that underpin wonderful moments or very specific locations, like I already pointed out, I feel like this game tends to generalize its themes for a lot of other locations. A huge number of the dungeons end up using the same exact theme multiple times throughout the game. Though some locations are different here and there, like Neem Ruins and Hojo's Laboratory at least. Town of Twilight is a really good song, but I feel like you hear it pretty much every single time, anywhere and everywhere in European towns. There are exceptions to this too, but the reuse after a while gets old even if I love the song. I feel like Japan has so many fewer town locations that you at least don't get as tired of that town theme, and Inugami Villages is so good that it manages to at least cement that location within your mind. mind far better. The game constantly reuses music to such a degree that musically a lot of locations end up blending together in a way. While a lot of the locations are extremely visually distinct and really wonderful to be in and see, and tend to have unique vibes in other ways, the music I feel undersells or ends up undercutting a bit of what makes every location unique, where I feel the first game didn't really run into this at all. The first Shadow Hearts gave about every single location fairly distinct music that fit each location and mood it was going for fairly well. Every location felt distinct not only because of their wonderful visuals, but also due to the wonderful music that accompanied them and helped them even better stick in your mind. When I look back at Shadow Hearts 1, I remember tracks like Star Shape, Swindler's Shanghai Mood, and Misfortune's Psycho Temple. This game has amazing and wonderful tracks as well, like I've extensively said before already, but I feel like it's not as cohesive, focused, or nearly as diverse as Shadow Hearts 1's is. Its implementation leaves a lot to be desired, quite honestly. The reuse honestly reminds me of a lot of how Persona 1's PSP battle theme is played so frequently due to the encounter rate that even though the battle theme is fantastic in isolation, within the context of the game itself and its extremely high encounter rate, it becomes fairly grating to listen to as you play more and more of it. It becomes repetitive and a lot of the encounters blend together because of it. While I don't fully think this is as drastic as that, again, I do still love a large amount of this OST and especially Town of Twilight, and I like Persona 1's battle theme. I do feel that the lack of distinction between locational music choices is such a detriment in fully showcasing how different and varied these locations are outside of their visuals. It even gets to the point where the final dungeon theme is just Japan's battle theme instead of its own unique theme. Which honestly is lame as all absolute fuck. Like, I'm sorry, the battle theme is good, but that just sucks total ass. Like, I was hoping for another Star Shape, something along those lines to distinguish this place, and outside of the lead up to it and the end of the game fights, that doesn't happen. It's a shame because while I do think this is still overall a good soundtrack, I feel like it could have surpassed the first in a lot of ways that it ends up stumbling on its way to perfection, which is really disappointing to see. I do want to reiterate again though, that doesn't mean I don't think it's good, but I do wish it was tighter and maybe had a few less tracks to focus it up and more distinguished location themes. I think it would really have helped round everything out. Also, goddamn, Getsu Renka slaps so fucking hard. Covenant's story really won me over, honestly from pretty much the beginning of it. I had quite a lot of issues with the first game and its story, the imbalance of its tone, the writing feeling somewhat limp to me, the characters felt fairly simple and not well fleshed out outside of Yuri. The story itself felt fairly unfinished, to the point where the entire second half of the game feels fairly disjointed from the emotional core of the first half and what Yuri is dealing with emotionally. The first game has strings of really great narrative ideas and concepts, but I don't think it lands all of them all that effectively. This game pretty much fixed all of that. The tone is far more consistent and feels fairly balanced this time, while it loses a good amount of the pure horror and dread that kind of defined the vibes of the first game, and I won't lie, I do miss those heavier vibes a lot as a horror fan. I think it does make up for it in spades in its earnest attempts at comedy and drama that I really enjoyed. The story and themes carried through and permeated the entire experience, where even if they felt a bit messy at points, I do feel like they hit very well upon the emotional core of this story and its meditations on loss, grieving, and how life is a constant process of gaining, losing, and storing memories of those people or things that have happened within your life. How grieving is difficult and complex as hell to deal with on a fundamental human level, how sometimes all you want is to either have that someone back or cope with other things or ideas, but something about that experience becomes defining for you as a person. I love how honestly, earnestly positive and joyful this game is about emotions too, how important it is to feel them and how important it is to express them, how you aren't alone, and even if you are, it's all about finding your own happiness for yourself regardless of that, finding what makes life special to you, the little moments, the moments that fill you with joy. Maybe they'll eventually lead to sorrow, but in the meantime, you gotta keep doing your best to live on regardless, because life is filled with all kinds of pain and hardship. Something about all of that just hit deep for me, hit me deep in the core of my being. It's beautiful what this game sits with and ruminates on, and it does it all with a goofy ass smile on its face.
What's that?
I gotcha.
That guy's pretty stubborn, ain't he?
Hey there, Spike Boy! You couldn't catch a cold if you wanted to! Now fight me!
Why, you little... Hey, where you going?
Wow, this game is genuinely funny as hell. Like, a lot of the jokes tended to hit far more than last time for me. Again, instead of going for the kind of horror-comedy balance of the first game that frankly just wasn't very good at the balancing act of it all, this game flat out decides to kind of go fully goofier with it.
That is one giant pussy.
It definitely still has some horror stylings in its tone, but much of this game is just much sillier about the whole thing. That may or may not be your bag, but for me it worked very well, honestly. Aspects of it, especially when balanced with its drama, gave me big Trigun vibes. Like watching the villains just bumbling around most of the time, outside of a few of them just sitting down and enjoying a drink at a bar in Cannes, while figuring out what to do.
And so it just slipped out, did it? Well, they must be in Italy by now, I suppose. It's a good thing for you, Lemmy, that we already moved the old man. We'll be all right, but no thanks to you.
I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. I promise. You haven't had to face the guy, so you don't know. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with that guy. He doesn't listen, and right away he's ready to use his fists. And he plays these mind tricks on you.
You're pathetic.
I fucking love this scene. I love these vibes so much. Again, huge Trigun hangout, Million Knives' cult-ass vibes. With the whole game carrying itself with this kind of balanced confidence. The same game that has Joachim show up and do a whole Kamen Rider beast-ass bit at you. Also manages to have some heart-wrenching emotional scenes with Yuri just trying his best to grieve and being terrified of his now ticking down mortality due to the curse yet again placed upon him. And none of this ever feels unbalanced or like it interrupts itself or undercuts anything. Villains aren't needlessly silly unless that is explicitly the narrative purpose of them this time, which is nice to see actually.
Uh-oh, it's Babyhead.
You wiggling worms! Have you enjoyed my little tour of hell?
Actually, you're a lousy guide.
Have you not learned that I am not a foe to be trifled with?
I just think that's the coolest. Floating around like that. I wonder how he does that.
It has restraint, but isn't afraid to have fun with itself in some JRPG conventions. Like seriously, I love that the same game that had me hit pretty deep emotionally also has the Ring Soul, this mystical, important being that watches over the Judgment Ring and those who wield it. Somewhat of an RPG cliche of a kind of watchful god over the hero's weapons or powers or something, is just this middle-aged, exhausted dad who just really loves and cherishes his wife and daughter. He gets upset at Yuri, hates Yuri, and then becomes really good friends with him, and he confides in you. It's goofy, it's funny. I actually gave a shit about this bit character and his family, and his adorable, earnest attempts to imitate them for a joke. It's quintessentially Shadow Hearts. It knows how to keep things balanced enough to keep everything interesting while not taking itself so overly seriously that it just ends up boring you or frustrating you. And it works so well as a perfect way to endear you to these goofy-ass characters.
Is there something on my face?
Yes, your nose and your eyes.
That's a pretty silly joke, hmm?
Yes, she's always saying stuff like that.
This is probably one of my favorite JRPG casts out there so far, honestly. Who knows? In these travels, I will absolutely say this again, but as of now, it's this game's cast. I love all of these dorky asshats with all of my fucking being. They goof on each other, constantly giving each other shit and fucking around while growing closer as the game goes on, being fairly open, honest, and blunt, especially in the case of Yuri, with their emotions, wants, and desires. It's refreshing to have a cast of mostly adult weirdos vibing around the world in their own Inuyasha-styled adventure where they're trying to figure out all of this shit together. Now, having said that, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody is all that interesting from a story perspective, so in that regard, I'm gonna give the most interesting characters their own chapters here, and the rest I'm gonna talk about on a level of least interesting story-wise to most interesting. Kurando is really fucking boring. Like, I dig him as Yuri's cousin and more everything surrounding him, Kawashima's dad and sister, Aunt Saki, Inugami Village, etc., but he himself is so fucking uninteresting. If anything, the most interesting thing about him are the constant jokes and bits about Anastasia having a crush on him, and him being so stone cold nothing that he either doesn't acknowledge it at all, or legit doesn't understand, which is kind of funny in its own way. But I feel like there's a lot of potential roots and possible inklings of character they could play with for Kurando, like anything in regards to his dead father, who, fun fact, was supposed to be the main protagonist if Shadow Hearts 3 was ever going to happen, according to an interview with Matsuzo Machida. Thank you, Shadow Hearts Wikia, for the info, by the way. Anything more with Yuri at all, and maybe how they both interact in getting to understand this side of Yuri's family that Yuri had no real idea about or connection to. Like, he connects with Aunt Saki, and it's genuinely super sweet and funny at times.
Now don't get so angry. You look so much like your father, that's all I'm saying.
My father?
Yes.
Did you know him?
Yes.
You really knew him?
Yes.
But how?
I am his sister.
Sister?
Huh?
but Kurando just doesn't really get much. Even his own side quest, outside of the end of it where you get his ultimate fusion, isn't fully about him. It's just kinda unfortunate if I'm being completely honest. Geppetto is wasted potential, quite honestly. He's Alice's uncle. Having been with his now deceased wife, he wants to help Yuri on his journey regardless of anything. And that's kinda it. He's a puppeteer and he has a doll based off of his dead daughter that he uses in fights, and he's a bit of a drunk doofus who's just kinda doing his best.
You too. Shouldn't you be turning in soon?
After I have a few more drinks.
Let me see that.
Huh? Just a little sip. Hey, give me that back. Get it. Oh, I can't believe it.
That's good.
But he kind of fades into the background, honestly, after the very beginning of the game. He's not as nothing as Kurando is. I actually quite love his dollhouse side quest. Creepiest thing in the game, by the way. This hallway legit freaked me out pretty good. Where he is almost pulled into his grief of having lost his daughter by the spirit there, but is protected by her spirit and kept from being gotten by the evil spirit that possesses the house itself. It's interesting, and his ending of getting to reunite with her is pretty sweet, but honestly, I don't have much else to say about him. He's really boring. Lucia is also kind of nothing. I at least find her character far more fun, though, when she does do anything. She starts off actually fairly interesting. A dancing, fortune-telling exotic dancer.
I wonder how she's doing that.
Yeah.
She's not using any wires.
Yeah.
Who actually ends up having
ties to Veronica,
the dominatrix villain, who is also kind of one note and is more notable for how goofy she is, bringing back the torture gag, but this time equal opportunity, which I think at least makes this one a funny gag compared to having the resistor to imperialism do it like last time. The real problem is that due to Veronica's kind of sudden death, not even halfway into the game, that connection doesn't really fully matter. Their ties as Carla's students before Veronica joined up with the Sapientes Gladio is kind of just nothing, which is unfortunate because they could have done something with that. And frustratingly, the director's cut version of the game that the West never got does do that. Instead, Lucia herself is mostly just kind of a fun, bubbly, airheaded character who's just vibing. Her side quest is mainly her hearing about some flowers and just really wanting to get them to synthesize them into buffs for the party. The most you learn about her is that Lawrence, yes of Arabia, really wants to marry her badly. But again, that's kinda it for Lucia. I wish they did more with her. I love her design. I think she's overall pretty funny, and if they had done more with her, even just goofy shit, she could have been up there with WARTIME in my favorites, quite honestly. As is though, I still do love her a ton. She's so fucking funny.
We've come all the way to Japan, and yet there's nothing we can do.
What if he dies on us?
Why do you always have to say things like that?
Blanca is actually pretty decently fleshed out via the wolf bouts that he can do, and has actually benefited majorly from, again, everything surrounding Kurando, which I found to be kind of funny, honestly.
Kurando? Who is this?
I don't know. He just appeared out of nowhere to help me out.
An unusual benefactor, I'd say. He certainly does look like a smart one.
Yes.
Thank you. What's your name, boy? Okay, you're white, so I'll call you Snowball.
I think he likes it.
Yeah.
Blanca starts the game mostly looking for a place in the world, same as Yuri and Geppetto are. Dom Remy is his start, but after some who were important to him, like Jean, die, and they start the journey, he's kind of traveling with the party, and like Yuri in ways, he's looking for his place of belonging after all of the loss he's suffered. His dad, who he's never actually known, Jean, and to an extent Dom Remy, even with everyone not captured and executed by the German army. The wolf bout, as goofy as shit as it is, and it definitely is, like you fight Terry Bogard and an alien that spouts emoticons like it's very dumb and silly, and I love it, still manages to have Blanca reconnect with his dad in a decently sweet scene, only to beat him and kill him in the process, which is more tragedy for Blanca. Though this is after he hits Japan and ends up meeting the Kawashimas. He grows close to and fairly protective of them, feeling a connection to this family that he's found and wants to protect. While I do feel there could be more to show this connection, it's genuinely nice, and I dig what it's going for, even if not perfectly executed. It speaks a lot to the game wanting to talk about found family, the little things, and finding your own happiness. Even his ending is making a world where he just gets to go live with them in peace. It's super sweet and made me tear up a bit. Anastasia is probably the fourth most interesting character in the party to me. She even just straight up gets her whole own ass section when she's first introduced, with fairly interesting people within them. A direct tie to the first main villain, that being fucking... and being a good viewpoint to introduce you to his overall goals and why Sapientes Gladio are doing what they're doing. But the most interesting part about her is more so her political awareness in regards to her father, Tsar Emperor Nicholas II. She's highly aware that the people are unhappy with him and that the tide of the nation is leaning towards him in some way, having to abdicate the throne, which did actually happen in real life.
Huh? What's the big deal?
I hate that tune.
So the ball has begun?
It's every night. Every night. There's something wrong with them. This whole country is insane. Maybe it should disappear.
Hang on.
The people's anger is ready to explode, and we pretend nothing's going on. We're like Nero. We keep on fiddling as the world is burning around us.
It's the same problem for all leaders. This country has gotten too big. Yep.
Don't say that. You'll bring us bad luck.
That's right. There are a lot of people that still have dreams. I worry. Someday, I'm afraid the people's anger will explode and they'll burn down my palace. My father himself is a kind man, but he has left too much to his ministers. Their idea of government is one which simply keeps the people oppressed. And anger towards the emperor who allows it is threatening to boil over. Even the war could soon be ended if my father would stand up and be strong. But there are some who profit from war and wish for it to go on forever. If I were a man, I'd be able to help my father. I wish I were in Alexei's place.
Which I frankly find to be interesting, but I feel like it doesn't push or represent how badly he was fucking up, though I feel like part of that is more so a consequence of the game itself, focusing on fairly surface level matters in regards to its historical subjects, to tell a slightly goofier story that feels more like historical Kingdom Hearts at times, that touches on some real bad shit from time to time, but we'll get there when we talk about Japan in due time. But in the context of this game, Anastasia is this kid, an outcast within her own family trying to figure out her place, who really just wants the best for Russia here. She travels with the group to at first stop Rasputin and protect Russia and help it properly prosper, and just help her family out. But once that's done, she sticks with the gang and is kind of a wacky comic relief character who's as much of a bozo weirdo as the rest of the cast.
Oh, come on. Show me somebody that's in danger of dying from seasickness. He was fine in the airship.
He's an odd one, all right.
That stupid airship didn't have any oomph anyway. It wasn't my fault.
But you were the one that crash-landed the ship.
It's called an emergency landing. Anyway, there was a cute little mother and baby bear. I wanted to see them.
Well, Roger is probably still fixing it, surrounded by those bears.
Deep in the woods of Hokkaido.
She has her moments and eventually finds her place with her crush on Kurando.
Oh, how are you feeling?
I'm fine. Please don't be concerned about me. Master, these people.
These are the ones that brought you here when you were hurt.
Oh, I see. Thank you. I owe you all my life.
Oh, really? It was nothing. It was our pleasure. You...
Ow!
Oh,
While I feel like aspects of Anastasia's character fall off after the first half of the game, she's still one of my favorites just because of how much the game gives her to shine with on a comedy level. She's quick-witted, but kind of a dumbass. She's demanding and chastises the others. She's obsessed with romance, but is also a complete klutz when it comes to it over her own pursuits in love. Hell, her side quest literally ends with her browbeating a summon into the party's collection, which I think is fucking hilarious. She gets quips and a ton of little bits. She's great even after her main conflict is resolved. Can I also just say, in terms of this cast, it's genuinely refreshing to have a cast of like pretty much mostly adults who are all weirdo fuck-ups of some kind. I just feel like a lot of anime and JRPGs tend to focus on teenagers, and it's just always nice to see in complement series that actually focus on like adults and adult issues as a 26-year-old at this point. It's nice and rad, and there should be more series that focus on adult protagonists. Wait, do you hear that? Music? Wait, who's that coming in the distance? Is that another queer rap? I love Joachim. I fucking adore this gay, goofy, dumb motherfucker so much. He basically never left my party unless he absolutely had to. I loved him that much. Joachim is Keith Valentine's brother from the first game. The gold bat you fight to get Keith's super weapon, that's him. And while yes, Joachim is still mostly a joke character, this time he's actually a character who like gets to do things in the story. He's a true believer in truth and justice.
What is it? What happened here?
Who's that?
When the forces of darkness descend, in the name of justice, this fist! In the name of truth, these muscles! In the name of honor, this blood! Ha ha! Champion of truth and justice, Grand Papillon, ready to fight all evildoers! If you can face the unfettered fury of my rippling muscles, then come on!
What? Huh?
Doing his goofy Kamen Rider Grand Papillon bit as he queerly strides around, beating the shit out of any enemy in his way.
Huh?
What's going on?
Champion of truth and justice, Grand Papillon! Ready to fight all evildoers!
Trained by the Great Gamma, yes, the real historical wrestler, he fights for what he stands up for, looking for a place of belonging, at first protecting the people of La Havre from the malicious gangsters that run the town, to helping Yuri and friends no matter what since Keith helped Yuri the first time around. But Joachim gets far more jokes and screen time. His presence is extremely memorable and constant throughout the entire game, this big hulking dude just goofily strutting around, his tokusatsu anthem blaring from time to time, his burly gesturing, his goofy and endearing spirit of justice, his cozy and fun interjections and dialogue, his dumbass behavior.
Why don't you just morph yourself?
I already told you before, Yuma has my mask.
What's that got to do with anything?
A hero has to have one or two weak points, you know. Nobody loves a perfect superhero.
Your brains are enough of a weak point if you ask me.
I especially love how for Joachim, you never have to buy his weapons. They're all just in the world, and it leads to some of my favorite interactions in the game. Joachim sees a huge blunt object, marvels at it, picks it up, and just walks away, not giving a single solitary fuck about the objections of the other cast members, or who is possibly using said object. No matter what or where it is, he just steals that shit. It's absolutely golden. And Joachim is far more explicit in his queerness, even if it's never fully outright stated in dialogue. A big, burly, muscly sweetheart of a gay beefcake, the gay Kamen Rider of my dreams. Even though Kuuga is definitely already up there in my headcanon ship. Like, look at these two! Come on! They're destined to smooch! And I'm not gonna say this game is excellent about queerness. Joachim is still a gag character, mostly even with more of his presence and absolute excellence. Even Keith gives him shit for it if you run into him later in Disc 2, which, he's still a bisexual king though. The shopkeepers are much better than Meiyuan in the fact that they're not creeps or molesters or anything, and this time are just flamboyant stereotypes that follow you around everywhere you go. Like Nico from DMC5 before her gay-ass teleporting van time.
Guess the phone still works.
Took you long enough, dumbass. What happened to the third ring rule?
Tell you what, you call me from now on, and I'll hustle on over.
I also like genuinely really fuck with the fact that like in order to upgrade Geppetto's like dolls, you have to give like the shopkeepers gay porn. It's just fun. It's fun, it's funny, I like it. So that at least is better. Not revolutionary, but it makes me not actively dread their dialogue or interactions like I did Meiyuan. This is a definite step in the right direction. Now the Man Festival on the other hand.
Oh, so it's you guys. Well, it's a good day for a fight. You have come all this way. Do you think you can handle me?
Teacher! We have come here to ask you a favor.
Oh yes, favor asker. I'm open for questions 24/7. If you got a problem, spit it out. Open your heart. Your body will follow. You will forget all your troubles.
Uh-oh. It started.
I have come here to save the world. This may be the very last time that you and I ever meet. Mine is the soul of a true warrior. I've never backed down from a fight.
Oh yeah? Well, mister, I never back down from a fight. What is this favor you're asking of me?
The intensity is just incredible.
Yeah.
I've come here for one reason only. For the Man Festival.
The Man Festival?
You don't mean it. You mean to challenge me in the Man Festival?
Huh? What's that? That sounds kind of nasty.
It's the ultimate test for wrestlers. The cruelest of all trials.
The Man Festival. Yes, the Man Festival. Countless wrestlers have tried, but every one of them has paid the ultimate price. The physical body is pushed beyond all endurance, and the spirit is tested to madness. Anyone who survives the test will become heir to me, the Great Gamma. But are you prepared to suffer the consequences of losing as well? I'll show no pity to the loser. Fail, and you will pay the ultimate price with a baptism that will strip away your manly dignity. Even you, Joachim, will be given no quarter.
I'll never lose. Victory will be mine.
Very well said, Joachim. I would expect nothing less from my pupil.
Hey!
Wow! This is going to be great! We are going to be witnesses to history here!
Huh? Oh. Yeah.
Oh, yes! Oh, yeah!
Wow!
Time to begin the Man Festival. The Tower of the Holy Ring is completed. Come on up to the top. I'll be waiting for you here. Yeah?
I'll be coming up to meet you.
This could have been okay. Maybe. Like, it's a goofy gay wrestling tower where the gimmick is that you climb the tower and fight a bunch of dudes being tongue-in-cheek queers so Joachim can be crowned the ultimate man. The problem is that all of the men you fight are Indian stereotypes who wear curry on their heads and constantly make the same joke about being Indian food jokes, and it's all just a big way to do a gay joke regarding Gamma, who was a real wrestler who is known as one of the greatest and most prolific wrestlers of all time. Like, Bruce Lee followed the guy's exercise routine at least. Not to say that big public figures throughout time can't or shouldn't be joked about in ways, though racial and gay jokes are just punching down and disrespectful in a multitude of ways that suck ass. They just shouldn't have done it. This honestly reminds me of how fucking awful that Bruce Lee bit from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was, where Tarantino essentially made a stuntman OC that could totally beat Bruce Lee's ass because he was so cocky to all the American stuntmen. Oh, it's shitty. I think the fact that the quest ends with Gamma sexually assaulting Joachim because the point of the Man Festival is that the loser has to receive the winner's manhood is pretty fucking yikes, dog. So unfortunately, while this game does take many steps forward, it also, unfortunately, takes a few steps back into awful shit town. It's definitely not perfect with it. Though BDSM kink is shown in this light as weird and an extremely deviant activity that mostly only villains partake in, so I mean, what did I expect, I guess? Still, even with that, while not the best thing ever and falling yet again into its own bullshit, it is nice to see them give a queer character empathy and a space in the party as a part of the main cast. Joachim is endearing, being one of the strongest in the game. His Kamen Rider aspirations make me so giddy as a Kamen Rider fan, which by the way, please watch Black Suns. And every moment with him being a goofy dumbass was another moment where I was even happier for his inclusion. Joachim is a genuine gem of a character, and I'm curious to see if From the New World tops that at all or regresses, but we'll see. Yuri is one of my new favorite JRPG protags. Point blank, he's grown on me so much since last time. Honestly, he is kind of the reason I think while you could just jump into this game with not a ton of issues, the game is actually fairly good at filling you in on really important shit from the first game. With these really cute drawings by Yuri, by the way, I just want to bring that up because I didn't know where else to bring them up. I just think they're really cute and fun and funny. And I think the emotional payoff here still works fairly well in isolation. Having the context of both games' stories is absolutely fan-fucking-tastically done, and in my opinion, extremely necessary for the entire arc to be as hard-hitting as it is. Especially the ending. Yuri starts this game completely lost. Alice is dead, he's hanging out around Domremy, defending the town because he has absolutely no direction after the first game. He's stuck in this perpetual state of grief that he can't move past at all.
This war's not over by a long shot. We need
a safer place to stay.
That's right.
There is no safe place.
Not around here. You know that, don't you? That's why I'm staying right here. I'll protect this village until I die.
What's with you, huh? Sounds to me like you're just looking for a place to die.
Well, you're wrong. I don't plan on throwing my life away, old-timer, if that's what you're thinking.
Is that so?
Besides, my life isn't my own anyway. This life of mine was given to me by her.
Then the villains find him paranoid that he's going to try to stop them first, and he's cursed with the mistletoe, a holy object that obliterates the soul slowly over time. The worst kind of death imaginable to someone, committed via an absolute man-child cosplaying as a Trigun villain, Nikolai.
What the hell?
What the hell is this?
But more importantly, Yuri is looking for his happiness, his purpose after Alice's passing. Getting cursed again sets him on a journey to stop it and the group responsible. But is that really what Yuri fully wants? And to me, that question is a small part of what makes Yuri so interesting. He's this lost soul stuck in this kind of emotional stasis. He's blunt with everyone and mainly trying to punch through to the next guy.
So the power of Amon has halted the progress of the curse.
Your curse isn't worth shit, buddy.
And even with his goofy dumbass facade, he's hollow. In his graveyard, in his heart, he's literally stuck, waiting for something to finally release him, but unable to actually move on fully, the tree itself here being a perfect visual metaphor.
Whoa, what's going on here inside my soul? Something strange is happening. Is it because of that mistletoe thing? Huh? What the? That's me growing there. Hey, hold on a minute. What the hell does this mean? What's going on here? Are you alive? Are you? This is bad. I'm starting to feel sick. What do I do now? I can't do soul fusion anymore either.
Yuri has to want to continue forward. Jean, a village girl who was killed at the beginning of the game, resides within his heart and is trying to help him find his happiness and his purpose again. Karin tries to help too, but he's completely stuck on Alice and is incapable of moving past her. Even when terrible, awful shit is going on throughout the story, his thoughts are taken up by what he's lost and these memories he's holding on to. He's looking for some hope to bring Alice back. Kato is a good parallel to him because of this. Kato lost Kawashima and refuses to move on from her, so much so that he makes essentially a clone of her without her memories, using the emigre document in order to just have some semblance of her in his life still. He even plans to start a family with this copy of her because he can't let go of her at all. Once she dies after defeating Nikolai's dumbass, he gives the emigre documents to Yuri as his last gesture of kindness to him because he's vested all of his happiness within Kawashima instead of trying to find his own happiness. Yuri, in a way, is trucking along for similar reasons, but has people around him willing to help try to pull him out of his despair spiral and keep him leveled out. He doesn't want to be alone. He can't take it. Not when Alice helped him so much before this point. One of my favorite scenes is when he tries to bring Alice back using the emigre document with Roger.
Foreigners, foreigners. By the wheels of the cherubim, take this soul beyond the gates of time. The crystal! Oh my, yes. Her soul isn't returning.
Love you.
I love you too.
That's amazing.
I love how even though it's completely failing, he's absolutely spellbound by the tube containing her vessel. He can't look away because he needs to see her. He has to see her. He doesn't want to fully let go, and when he gets that "I love you," he breaks down, just completely falls apart and cries back his "I love you" to her. It's heartbreaking, but that and the train scene with Alice really do well sum up where Yuri is within this game.
This train. Alice.
Yuri, you're back. I guess that I fell asleep here waiting for you to arrive.
You did? Oh.
Did you have a hard time?
Oh. You know, same as always.
What?
Can I sit next to you?
Sure, go ahead.
I always, feel kinda sick, sitting backwards.
Was it hard for you?
Huh?
To find your way here?
Oh, not at all.
Really?
Well, a little, I guess.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, come on.
I'll never forget
What?
taking this journey with you and meeting you, being with you.
Alice.
Don't worry. Whatever the curse is, I don't mind.
I'm sorry.
Don't be.
I wonder if God'll punish me.
Why?
Roger and I used the Emigre manuscript to bring you back to life. But we couldn't do it. So you really meant what you said then? I love you too.
I know that.
If there really is a God, and if he'd grant me just one wish, I'd go back to the day we met.
Then we could take a trip together again.
That was some trip, all right.
Now we can see each other anytime.
Anytime?
I'm not going anywhere. Are you leaving?
Yeah, I've got one more thing that I have to do. Once I take care of that, everything will be out of the way, and I'll come back to you. Then I'll never leave again. I swear it.
Be careful.
See you soon.
Figuring out how to continue in a world without her, how to live life and experience new things with new people, while holding on to all of these good and bad memories of Alice. It's a layered reading on grief that, even through all the wacky shit, quips, and comedy, is palpably there for Yuri. You can always feel it with him, which makes me appreciate even more how openly emotional he is with people in this game. I love how open he is with KARIN, with Kato, with Roger. He's looking for direction and doing his best to keep going and dealing with shit, even when he really doesn't want to at all anymore. But as the game goes on, he travels more, he meets so many people who care about him, he has so many new experiences. Hell, with meeting Kurando and Saki, he meets family when he thought he was completely alone in the world outside of friendships and acquaintances. Yuri isn't a perfect person. He's flawed, he's messy, he's rude and blunt, and can be kind of shitty, and that's what makes him great. He's a human being making mistakes, trying to find his place in the world after so much loss and loneliness in his life. In this game, in a way like Shinji finding the village in Eva 3.0 plus 1.0, is Yuri healing and learning to continue on. That your depression won't swallow you whole, that your memories are still there and important, that even if you die, you will be remembered and will continue to exist inside of their hearts and memories.
Anyway, I decided, even if I can't break this stupid curse, it'll be alright. When it happens, and my soul fades away, I know that my memories, they'll live on inside all of you.
Do you mean it?
Yeah.
That fighting on and paving your own way to your own happiness is vital in a life where loss is a constant and always present ordeal. Yuri is fucking amazing and completely irreplaceable. Absolutely one of the GOATs as far as I'm concerned. I think the villains this time around are especially quite wonderfully done too. The first game had an issue of, in Dehuai's case, making a villain who should be far more interesting and slightly sympathetic into a boring cartoon caricature anime villain who doesn't really get much at all outside of some implications about him. And in Albert's case, just introducing anything interesting or quote-unquote morally gray about him far too late, so all of it just falls extremely flat when he's just been doing completely reprehensible shit the entire entire game anyway, that doesn't line up at all with how the game is trying to paint him as some altruistic time wizard who just wants to help out all of those poor people. Which this game also tries to continue with a bit, but honestly, I still don't think it works. This game establishes the fact that people make pacts with demons for power, but I don't think that necessarily fixes one's problem of Albert feeling underbaked as well, as just feeling like a weird excuse to keep saying, oh, Albert was a good guy just doing horrible shit, but it just doesn't work at all. For every other villain or antagonist, I feel like it's more interesting of a take and much better set up and paid off here, but for Albert himself, it's just not well done, and now it just feels like the game is just adding more justifications for him trying to end the world in the first game. The scene on the cliffside with them talking on the bench is kinda nice though, even with that whole deal. Rasputin is interesting more so due to historical context, more than because of anything they majorly do with him in the story, but I do think they do capture his threatening energy mixed up in the already messy Russian political situation, and use that well to show how much of an awful piece of shit he is. The exchanges between him and Yuri being so fucking excellent in showcasing how much absolute disdain and disrespect Rasputin has for Yuri.
You amuse me, little ants. Do you really think you can defeat me?
What do you think I'm here for? Bite me.
No, you will bite me.
But I especially love the members of Sapientes Gladio, these losers and fuck-ups running their doofy cult, trying to forward their plans in their goofy Team Rocket meets Trigun villain squad-ass ways, but with far less competence than really either outside of accidental dubs here and there. They're lovable and in certain ways tragic. Lenny wanting what's best for the group, but really just wanting to help people to what he perceives as a better tomorrow that they're fighting for. Veronica, the love of Rasputin and the glory of the fight itself, and Nikolai just some kind of love and acknowledgement that he is the rightful heir to the Russian throne. He's desperate for any acknowledgement or love that he desperately tries to get Karin to side with him more and more as the game goes on.
Karin, come with me. I'll give you the love you want.
Please stop.
Don't fight it. A woman needs love to be fulfilled. I need you. Let's be together. Karin, I love you. But I love you. Yes, I love you.
I feel sorry for you. You manipulate people's hearts. But what is it you really want? You think you can hide your true self behind your smooth talk and good looks? Is that how you've been able to get to where you are now? Well, it won't work. You can't manipulate me.
But can you truly say you don't care for me at all?
Goodbye, Nikolai. You and I were never meant to be together.
Oh, Karin, Karin.
Childishly yelling into the void in despair until his eventual demise after killing Oka. That scene is fucked, but he absolutely had that shit coming. His scream to Karin cinches it, I think.
You'll die instead!
You son of a...
Karin!
Rasputin underestimates Yuri and loses himself to his demon and worst tendencies, and loses anybody and everybody around him. People die or defect, and deep inside he had no real goals, no actual want to benefit anybody or even maintain anything outside of his own power, which without the people who got him there meant absolutely nothing and was crushed instantly. So he dies a pathetic and deserved death after putting on this whole big plan and show. Minister Ishimura is far more messy in a way I've grown to really adore in how they executed it. So after all of the bullshit you deal with in Japan and the roadblocks you face on the road towards him, you finally meet him and he flat out tells you that the only reason he was doing any of this awful shit in the first place, the war, all of the assassination attempts towards Kawashima's family, etc., was all out of the fear of Western imperialism.
I've wanted to meet you.
You're Hyuga's son, aren't you?
Yeah.
And who has hired you to kill me? Russia? China?
Nobody.
Then why is it that you seek to take my life?
'Cause you're nothing but a murdering son of a bitch.
Nonsense.
You're planning to use Nikolai to set off a war in Russia, aren't you?
To protect Japan from the West, yes, that's correct.
What do you mean?
Unless someone in Asia stands up to them, the Western powers will take over here. China, Korea, and Japan all will fall. But I will not allow my beloved homeland to suffer such an ignoble destiny.
That's a load of bull! Why do you have to stir up a war in Russia to do that?
China capitulated, gave in to the West 100 years ago. Among all the nations of Asia, only Japan has been able to take a stand against them. But in order to successfully continue resisting, we must become bigger and stronger. We must plant the seeds of future power now on the Asian continent. And when the moment finally arrives for us to hurry to the aid of the beleaguered Russia, it will be Japan that will become the supreme ruler of all of Eurasia.
So, that's why you've done all this?
Correct.
Is that why you used Kato to kidnap Nikolai?
It was always my firm intention to have him become the ruler of the new Russia.
That's insane. If you do that, it's gonna set off a whole new war.
All wars end eventually. Suffering is merely temporary.
What about all the people that will die?
An unfortunate necessity.
Bastard.
You can kill me, but my plan will not end. Someone will take my place. No. Stay in there, Kosuke. Kosuke, get away from here!
Leave my grandpa alone! Don't you dare touch my grandpa, you hear?
Out of the way!
Kosuke! Please. My grandson is innocent. Don't kill him! Don't kill him. I'm begging you. Please. Please.
Don't you dare beg for his life! What about the people you sent to kill in your name? What about the children whose lives have been snuffed out by your soldiers? How many parents have begged just like you for their children's lives? They cried and begged and pleaded for their lives. And they were killed anyway. They tried to protect their homes, and they were killed anyway. How many people will you sacrifice for your stupid, petty ambitions? Protecting them from the west, huh? Well, protect this! Doing it for your country, huh? Well, here's what I think of that! I say you did it for yourself! Stupid, arrogant idiot! You should rot in hell! Rot in hell! Rot in hell!
Now personally, I think and agree with Yuri's reaction and think he's very correct for beating the fuck out of him even if he didn't kill him, which I think he should, but his reaction at first afterwards worried me. I wasn't sure if the game was justifying what he had done by trying to brush it off as a grasp at human weakness.
You couldn't kill him, huh?
No.
Even though you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Good. That's how it's supposed to feel. He's lost it all. His iron soldiers, his mad scientist, Kato, Nikolai, everything. All he's got to look forward to is a short, sad life. But it's more than enough time to think over all the crimes he's committed.
The thing is, even he was just doing what he thought was right. He was fighting for his country, his grandson. But what have I been fighting for? When that kid was staring at me like that, I realized I had no idea.
But playing through the game, I more so got that this wasn't justifying his actions, but more so trying to understand why the fuck he would have done it. For him, it was the fear of the West coming in and doing an imperialism on Japan. So in that fear and paranoia and desperation, they were desperate to do anything they could to fend off the West. But this paranoia led to the actual harm carried out via forcibly doing an imperialism on China and Korea, and trying to force a coup on Russia, which definitely led to the deaths of many due to essentially adding more fire to the already giant pyre of war going on. Ishimura made Japan exactly what he feared, and because of that, it heavily backfired. It's human in its complexity where there is clear moral wrong. He has done awful, awful shit. But a lot like Patrick and Koudelka, while monstrous, you can at least get why he did what he did in the most pathetic ways, even if this was the absolute worst way to go about doing it. It's not honoring him or saying that he was right or correct to do it because of this reasoning, but more saying that he did awful shit, he should be punished for it, but his intentions weren't the worst or pure evil, but his actions proved otherwise, and that's the important distinction, and the results were monstrous. It makes his brief appearance interesting and also gives more weight to the scene where Roger and Yuri try to bring Alice back. While yes, it is separate from the real historical harm caused by imperialist Japan, it's a pretty bad thing to attempt within the setting of the game, and I think given the other two games and the consequences that Demon Book had, it makes sense to pull this comparison here. Yuri knows the power of the Emigre document, how many people it has the potential to hurt, and the horrible shit it's capable of. But he does it anyway because human beings are flawed, stupid, and selfish, and will do many awful things for pretty fucking horrible reasons. It's not justified or correct, but you can see why he would do it. It's not about feeling bad for someone or saying, oh, they're a good person actually. This isn't some Thanos shit. It's about people with good intentions doing fairly fucking awful shit in their selfish journeys to make things better in what they see as right and correct. But that doesn't mean it's actually right and correct. It's genuinely astounding how much this one cutscene for me kind of clicked it all together. So again, even though he's not in it for that long, or even really that memorable of a character compared to the rest, I genuinely believe that this scene will stick with me, like a lot of everything with Patrick from Koudelka will. Well-intentioned people taking horrific action due to their own justifications, human in every sense of the word. Kato is probably my other favorite character in the game, the true polar opposite of Yuri, down to him not only trying and failing to recreate his lost love, but also failing to grasp the new family and people around him that do care about him, even in the wake of that death. The section where you play as Oka for a bit and train to get the team familiarized with each other, the scene in the volcano where two of them talk about protecting Kato, the want to keep their found family together no matter the circumstances, even if Kato looks at the other two more as pawns to his end goals than as true family like they do, which is tragic as fuck.
When even the doctors gave up on us, it was Master that saved us. He treated us good, just like we were his own family. Even stupid me who couldn't die right.
That's why we fight so hard for him. Why we're willing to die for him.
Exactly. But
what?
Oka is different. Unlike us, she wasn't given any mechanical implants. She was the Master's girlfriend reborn. He wants to have a baby with her and live like a nice, happy couple. Listen, Ian, no matter what happens to us, I want to be sure that we protect those two.
Raiden.
Is there something strange about wanting to do that? Are you with me then?
Of course. I'm right there with you.
Kato being his own Fullmetal Alchemist father of sorts, when he clearly just doesn't want to be alone after losing the woman who meant the fucking world to him. Kato is a wonderful parallel for Yuri, who Yuri could become should he let his grief completely swallow him whole and destroy him from the inside out. Should he let his sorrow completely take over and reject the love that is surrounding him. The anger and resentment making him just a much worse person in general. How quick he is to externalize that pain upon others and make things worse. Wanting to reset, not having learned a single thing at all, instead of moving forward or accepting those around him. Taking in the little things that life holds in store for you, instead of trampling over those who are there for you now, to constantly try to relive the past and refuse to deal with the pain in any healthily meaningful way. Somewhat like a ritual kind of situation. Kato needs someone to pull his ass out, to sit him down, to genuinely connect with him in a human way, but there's no telling if it'd even work, even with the time. He has to want to, and he definitely doesn't want to by the end of the story. His key to moving on was Oka, and history repeated itself, because he didn't learn from it.
Master.
Oh. Oka.
Are you hurt?
I'm fine.
I'm so glad.
Oka.
Losing Kawashima broke Kato, but losing Oka destroys him, leading to one of my favorite cutscenes in the game.
So, you've come.
That's right.
Did you meet Alice?
Yeah. Thank you. Do you still plan to destroy the world?
Yes. I plan to remake this world by bringing us 100 years into the past.
100 years?
Yes, 100 years. When the people that have warped this world had not yet been born.
Then, I will be able to guide this world to a whole new future.
You think big.
So you're satisfied with the miserable state of the world. You're happy just to let things continue the way they've been.
No, I'm not. The future I want is the one that I create for myself, even if it costs me my own soul.
So you fight because of your beliefs?
No. Because of my destiny.
Soul of the ancient gods, soul of the land of Nippon, return beyond the gate of time! Yoriwara, vessel of Yamato. I'll be there at its peak. 108 tolls of the bell. Space will be torn, and time warped.
I got it.
He's resigned to this misery, while Yuri wants to do his best to knock him out of it, and while this swallows and kills Kato, Yuri is able to give everyone the happy, caring endings they all deserve. It's sweet. I think it cements the point of fucked up, flawed, and not great people continuing to fuck up, and Yuri choosing to try to do better, to try to take in life as he can, to try to move on even when the grief is too much to humanly bear. He can relate to Kato the most, and I think it puts him in a better spot to finally let go and move on with his life. Jean constantly asks Yuri to find his happiness. I wonder how Kato would have ended up if he had somebody similar around to ask him the same, to really sit and examine what and who he had. His mutant apes were his goofy, cute little family. Genuinely, by the end, I actually felt sad beating them because I grew attached to these goofy ass people being attached to someone they considered family, even when Kato constantly treated them like total shit and completely disposable. It's good. So you may be wondering why I've saved Karin for so close to the end of this video. Karin is a complicated character, to say the least. So Karin captured my attention fairly immediately. See, last time, I was pretty harsh on Alice, and I feel like the game didn't really give her a lot to work with, but at the same time, I feel like I should have acknowledged better that kind of gentle, quiet charm she had as a character too. She was a nice parallel to Yuri, even if again, I feel like she sometimes fell into some damselly tropes, or if the story could have done more with her outside of just being mainly a romantic lead. Karin, I feel like fulfills that fairly well. She's this former German soldier who gets tricked by good old Sapientes Gladio into leading them to Yuri from the beginning, and from there, she begins to journey with the rest of the gang because she'd probably be executed if she went back to Germany. I feel like she gets more time to shine and grow here in the story. Even when she spends a significant amount of time worrying about Yuri, she at the same time gets to also be on top of a lot of shit with the other characters too. Her banter with some characters is fucking excellent, and I think she's fairly well That's weird. Did you hear that music? Nah, I must be imagining it. So KARIN has a really great side quest, right? Where she hears the call of her grandmother, who was confirmed to have been killed earlier in the game. What's great about this side quest is that she gets a nice farewell from her grandma. A way to tell her that all of this worrying about her family name and making the lineage proud doesn't really matter, and how she should instead live the way that she wants to. That she should be independent and free to choose her own destiny. It's a very sweet side quest that I really liked a lot. What the fuck? There it is again. Okay, I think I'm hearing shit. I must not be sleeping enough or something, man. I've been stressed. So yeah, she's pretty great and fun and active within party banter discussion, while also having more of her own internal drama of losing her family and kind of everything she's fought for. She, if anything, is in a similar position to Yuri in finding what exactly she wants to do, what she wants to live for. She's not fighting for her country or her family name anymore. She's fighting for herself and what she wants, and I think that's pretty cool. Though Yuri does, for some reason, keep comparing her to his mother. It's weird, right? Like, you go to Alice's grave and Yuri gives her his mom's pendant.
Yeah. Alice's grave. I haven't been here in a while, and it's gotten so dirty. It's been over a year now.
Why did you bring me here?
To give you this.
A cross?
It belonged to my mother. I want you to have it.
Really?
All of the people that I've ever loved have carried it. My mother and father. And Alice. I guess that everyone that's carried it has died.
Huh? Really?
It's okay. You don't have to worry. It's not like it's cursed or anything.
They talk about his mom a lot, like this conversation where he can't remember her face.
Do you remember your mother?
Of course. She met my father when she was in Japan. And it was love at first sight for her.
Was she pretty?
I can't remember her face that clearly.
What was she like?
Why all these questions?
Come on, I just want to know.
We moved around a lot after we got to China. Finally, we settled in Mulan. But because my father was away so much, my mother and I got to spend a lot of time together. She was a strong woman, but she was lonely too. Is that enough? This is embarrassing.
No way. You're not stopping right now.
Please, come on. She had a hard time growing up, but she was happy in Japan with my dad. Of course, after we moved to China, she would sometimes complain about how her life went. Then she'd always say she'd be happy, no matter where she was, as long as she had me.
Saki even talks about it with her, and the more I think about it, that's kind of weird, right? Like, what's up with that? It's almost like it's trying to... You unlock this door with the key of Freudian thinking. Beyond is another dimension. A dimension of women. A dimension of mothers. A dimension of women like your mother. Welcome to the Oedipus Zone. Enter KARIN Koenig, an ex-German soldier striking it out on her own after overcoming her own struggles, and making it as her own person after years of tying herself down to family and nationalistic identity, after learning that she can't have the Yuri of her dreams due to his inability to move on from his first true love. She decides to take a more peculiar approach to her love, becoming his mother. Yeah, so, Karin is, actually his mom. This is such a bizarre choice to pull out right at the end. Because, like, the way the ending works is that everyone essentially gets to wish for a world they want to exist in. An ideal place, essentially. And Karin wishes to be his mother? Or maybe she wished to love him as much as possible or something, and her ass got monkey pawed, which would make sense given the fact that some of the characters also don't fully get happy endings either, if you think about it. Even if Anastasia survives in her ending, due to her very real death in real life, her family is definitely still horrifically executed if she doesn't do anything. Blanca just ends up with a new dead family and is potentially left alone again, as the Kawashimas died in real life. And sorry to divulge a little bit, but I do find it interesting that the Kawashima in this game is actually based on the real Yoshiko Kawashima, whereas the one that died in the first game was actually a supposed fake out if you read the description. I kinda wonder why they did that, so history could play out the same? Anyway, yeah, that means she dies a horrific death via execution, so damn Blanca. Thank you again, Shadow Hearts Wikia. Seriously, they're great for info like this on these games. Go check them out, they're great. I do think it's really rad that it's all left up to interpretation if these characters actually do get to live a happy life in the end. If these are curated fantasies they get to live out forever, if they're separate or not. But fucking Karin gets to become Yuri's mom, which doesn't even make sense because does this mean she's in the same universe? Or is Karin's universe a universe that Shadow Hearts 1 takes place in? It feels like one where too much is left up to interpretation. Like, why would she wish for this? Did she wish for this? It's taking a character who is literally told to live for herself and what she wants, and it just turns out that what she wants is to be the main character's mom. Like, it takes away a lot from her in such a bizarre-ass way, and I just really don't like it. Like, I don't really fully know what to even say about this twist. When it happened, my jaw fucking dropped. I was flabbergasted. I keep thinking about how nuts this twist is. It's wild as hell, and it feels like a bizarre waste of a character that doesn't make any fucking sense for her at all, and the whole point of her story. And I mean, if she wanted to be like a mom or live in a world where like she got to have Yuri's kids or something, like, okay, yeah, again, I don't think characters doing shit for themselves in this game is necessarily bad or good, but this choice is just fucking wild. Like, she's someone who's basically followed what other people have told her to do for her entire life. Her side quest frees her from these thoughts and overbearing expectations, or at least sets her up to do that if that's what she chooses to live for. She's free to figure out what she wants from her own life, to live independently for herself. But instead, this centers her life around Yuri, cosmically tying her life to Yuri and framing her love for Yuri throughout the entire game as some kind of destined, unconscious, motherly love, which, what the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah, I don't have anything else. What the fuck? This doesn't like ruin the endings or even the entire game for me overall because the rest of it, in my opinion, is just so fucking strongly done. But it absolutely tanks a huge aspect of Karin as a character, and I think this is lame as hell. Like I said earlier, I do think this is a series of characters making selfish and frankly weird or strangely shitty decisions. But this doesn't feel like that to me. This just feels wrong and gross. It's a bummer. So this This time, the endings are actually way simpler to get than even last time, which had you running all the fuck around for that good ending. No extra requirements, no bullshit you gotta do. It's literally just a choice right before the final string of boss fights. Jean asks you what true happiness is to you. Either pick the first option, where you tell Jean that you want to live the way you want, which gives you the good ending. You walk in, you kick Kato's ass, and everyone gets to wish for their ideal worlds. Karin becomes Yuri's mom, Geppetto gets his daughter back, Anastasia and Corando get to travel the world together, Blanca lives with his new family, Lucia gets to go back to Florence and live a peaceful life, Joachim becomes the ultimate wrestler, Yuri stays behind, being killed by a spiked rock jutting up from the ground before the mistletoe can take him.
Sorry. I can't keep that promise.
I know why you stayed there alone. You were afraid to lose yourself. You realized the only way to protect your soul and your memories was to die. The times you spent with your friends, your feelings for the friend you fought, all of your experiences to this point. All that is what made you what you are, made you into the man you are today. Yes, the man I know, the man I love.
Inside of the graveyard, Alice comes and picks him up, taking him to the afterlife, probably to that peaceful train ride he met her on again within his memories, but who really fully knows.
Now you don't have to suffer anymore. You don't have to be alone anymore. I'll always be right here by your side. Now we'll be together forever.
The game flashes back, implying that Yuri got a wish too. He's waiting for a train, but not just any train. The train from Shadow Hearts 1's is opening.
Whoa, that's bad. I almost overslept. It'll be here soon.
It's the world you secretly prayed for. The place your heart returns to. The time when you were the happiest. You can start your life over again.
It's that train. I kind of feel like a kid again.
He's getting another chance to save Alice, to do things maybe better this time. It's a sweet ending that officially canonizes the good ending of the first game, which is actually really cool. It opens up a path where Yuri's Wish makes a playthrough of the series chronologically go Koudelka's bad end, then Shadow Hearts' bad ending, then Covenant's good ending, then Shadow Hearts' New Game Plus's good ending. It's neat, and I haven't really seen a ton of games retroactively canonize other routes in another entry before like this. I think that's just really fucking rad. I think my only issue with it is that I feel like this ending goes against what the game is setting up, with Yuri moving on and trying to live for himself and the future at that point. But at the same time, I do see it as a decision Yuri would make, even if I wouldn't, because I'm not Yuri Hyuga. Like many characters in this series, Yuri is selfish and makes fairly selfish decisions for himself, like testing the emigre document after all of the harm he has seen it cause. In the end, it takes more than just experiences to change you as a person. Given the opportunity, I can see Yuri making this decision, because wouldn't you? Wouldn't we all if given the chance? You can make a new world, able to redo the past. Go back and try your best to make things different. So yeah, while it may undercut one part of the story, and what it's saying about moving forward after loss, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it makes Yuri even more layered and human in that way, to be honest with you. Humans are messy and selfish, and while a lot of us say things like, no, we wouldn't go back and change anything, I think given the opportunity, I think more people would. I know I fucking would. Now for the bad ending, if instead you tell Jean that happiness is living peacefully, then the whole fight and most of the events are the same. But at the end, instead of dying to the rock, Yuri accepts his fate to be erased completely.
I'll see you all again someday. The adventure is over. I've lost a lot. In the end, was it really worth it? Will the new future be any better? Anyway, my story is over. I can feel it. The mistletoe is finally stealing away my soul. Even if I can go back to my friends, I won't really be me anymore. But then again, if it means I'll be able to live the rest of my life in peace, I guess I couldn't ask for any more.
He accepts the reality that he won't be forgotten. The memory of him will be carried onwards with everyone, and he may even meet everybody again in a sort of eternal sunshine kind of way, maybe even repeating similar events and similar mistakes. He won't be the same person with everything he's learned, but he now has the open potential to live life in peace, in a fucked up way like the end of Oldboy. His graveyard lights up, but this time no one comes for him. Alice doesn't come to get him, he doesn't get to go, his soul is deleted, the Yuri we knew is gone, and the credits roll. After that, he's outside of Wales 3 years later.
Yuri? I never thought I'd find you in a place like this. I've been looking all over for you.
Yuri, who are you?
You don't even remember your own father? Such a foolish son.
My father?
Well, let's go home now. It's cold out.
Roger finds him, Yuri doesn't even know his name or anything, which tears Roger the fuck up. It's a pretty sad way to end it, punctuated with a lie that Roger is his dad so that he can take care of him. Now hopefully able to live his life in a kind of peace with his dad and the First World War coming to a close. I honestly really fuck with this. I think this is the first one of these games where I actually really adore and have shit to say about both endings this time. I especially adore the bad ending because of just how it's not completely a bad ending. It's far more bittersweet in its presentation. It's an interesting portrayal of pure soul and ego death. I've seen similar ideas be more so discussed and explored in fairly tragic ways in games like Nier Replicant or Gestalt. Papa Nier represent!
Good to see you, Kamen.
You look like shit.
And Automata, but here I like how this argues that while it is absolutely sad and tragic, it's also not completely terrible. This new person, this new Yuri, has the chance to live a new life, have new experiences, find new little moments to cherish, meet new people, have new loves, truly be a different person, good or bad, to have a peaceful life. While he may not know anything about himself at all, anyone he met, his experiences or anything, while he is a blank slate, that doesn't mean he is absolutely nothing. Even after ego death, there is still a person left behind. They just need to build from scratch. There's something in that connects with me. The entire game, Yuri's self-introspection via the graveyard and Jean, exploring his memories, even finding his dad if you decided to look, accepting all of these aspects of his life and shit that's happened, good or bad, and accepting how his life is and accepting his inevitable oblivion, knowing that he wouldn't have changed anything. That whoever is born from there gets to live a peaceful and happy life. It's left open in a beautiful way and it honestly moved me. Even the good ending is more so bittersweet here too. There's no confirmation if, even with this knowledge, he was able to save anybody besides Alice. If he was able to stop his emotional issues earlier, if he was able to save Kawashima and stop Covenant from majorly happening, it's all left up to your interpretation, and I honestly think both of these endings were an absolutely perfect way to end Yuri's story. Covenant is absolutely in my top JRPGs of all time. It doesn't hit everything perfectly, but it hits everything on such a constant, consistent, high level, and far exceeds the first game in such genuine, earnest, and rad ways that I can't help but love it, even when I feel like it stumbles a bit. It's fantastic, a beautiful meditation of enjoying the little things in life, taking in everything about life, and doing what you feel is right for yourself, making sure that you're doing your best to connect with those you care about, and not hurting those you care for as well via your own grief or tragedies or fears, finding your own happiness on your own terms and cherishing the people along the way, acknowledging how important the journey that life is truly is as much as the destination itself. When I was playing through this game, I thought about when I was playing Shadow Hearts 1, when I got to the side quests, and I was actually dreading it that time. I kinda wanted the game to just be over at that point because while I wasn't hating it, I wasn't fully in its camp or what it was doing by that endgame point, but I didn't want to miss anything in the hopes that maybe the side quests would bring it more together, so I trudged through it. This time, with Covenant, I actually was excited to get into a lot of the endgame content. It didn't waste my time. I was excited to take in more of this journey, more of this world, more of these little memories, to learn about these characters, events big and small, and see how they were all doing their best to continue living on. Fuck, it's so good. I have doubts that From the New World is going to be as good as this from what I've seen of it and the relatively little I've played of it, but honestly, I'm still looking forward to it. While I do miss the horror vibes of Koudelka and Shadow Hearts, we need more horror JRPGs, please. This game has shown me that the goofier, more regular JRPG direction isn't terrible for the series, and in fact, with some wonderful writing, can truly and greatly excel, but I'm not going to get too ahead of myself with things. I'll just leave it at being excited to play it for now and just say, live for the little moments. I want to thank my patrons. First off, thank you so much for being patrons of the channel, for giving me the money to try to make this a full-time thing and to push this forward and try to, you know, do this as like a career. Thank you for supporting a dream of mine. Like, seriously, we have our first like over $10 patron, and that's Anti-Ginger. Over $10 patrons are our raddest magicalist person tier, and those people get shout outs by name in the credits. So thank you so much. Seriously, thank all of you for being my patrons. Thank you to just my subscribers in general. It really means a lot, like the community I feel like I've been forming in these videos and the discussions I've had on these games and people I've been talking with and stuff. I feel like I have good support for this. I have good support coming from like all around, from like subscribers, from patrons hitting me up, from friends, from family, from people in general. Like, a lot of people are really like rooting for me on these things, and it always feels, I'm kind of riding a bit of like a euphoric high of like really fucking just like hitting it, you know? I'm just like getting these done. I'm riding the high of just like hitting these video releases. Fucking just, this video's so long. And that just genuinely makes me like really fucking happy. Oh, fuck. Thank you all a lot for like just contributing to like discussions or anything, sharing these with people that you know, watching them yourselves. I get comments from some people and like people who say like, oh, I've watched your videos like over and over again, or I really like your perspective, and it's helped me kind of grow. Like, I feel like I've been able to branch out too and like hear a lot of really good feedback too on the videos, and things that I've needed to like adjust or change, or things that I'm working on, things that like I'm still working on as well. Like, there's things with audio in this video that I'm doing my best to get better at, but I'm still just kind of struggling, but I am going to do my best to keep improving and keep growing. I am the type of person who's like constant self-improvement type person. So yeah, sorry this took so long. A lot of life stuff happened, and you know, that kind of takes priority over really anything. But I'm glad that I was able to at least get this out like before Christmas and before New Year's. That just genuinely makes me really happy. I hope that, you know, you all have a wonderful holiday. I hope that your new year is wonderful. And I'm feeling 2023 is going to be a good year for the channel. I think it's going to be a good year for all of us. I really do. I also felt like as I'm kind of growing my channel, I do want to try to shout out smaller creators that, like, you know, I've stumbled across or whose videos like I really fuck with. So I really wanted to shout out this channel called Media Diver. They have become like an Insta favorite for me. I stumbled across their video Returning to the Town I've Never Been To, which is about Silent Hill 1, stumbled into my feed recently. Because YouTube's just in general been a lot better about like smaller channel recommendations, I feel. And like, I just want to give this channel a shout out. I really fuck with their content. I fuck with their vibes. I fuck with like the way that like they talk about media in general. They put out really cool shit. So check out Media Diver. I'm gonna link Returning to the Town I've Never Been To in the description. Yeah, go check that shit out. It's good. I also want to shout out Katie the Angel Witch and her Trans Femme Metro series. I actually did some voiceover for one of them. It was episode 5. I voiced a quote from the author of Okari Alice, which is a manga I really fuck with. And this series is like very specifically about manga that tackle like transness in different ways or gender in different ways, and it's a really good series. So that will be linked in the description, and I'll link specifically the episode that like I was in, but I highly recommend checking out the rest. I really love the Haru Musiko one, but that's mainly because I have like experience with reading Haru Musiko. Yeah, highly recommend it. Please check those out. Thank you all for the discussions. I really hope that like these videos are connecting with you, or you know, you're really fucking with what I'm putting out here. I really appreciate all of the feedback and everything that everybody gives me on these, and I genuinely really appreciate like this is growing. This is like becoming a thing. I'm really happy with this. I'm really happy with like where this channel is and where it's going, and I really hope that you all are along for the ride and and everything. Like always, likes and sharing, you know, the videos around the people who you think would fuck with it are super appreciated, and I really, really, really appreciate and thank you all for subscribing and sticking with me. We're almost to 500 subs, which I'm gonna be completely real. I didn't expect to get this close near the end of 2022, and I really appreciate it. I really think 2023 is going to be a good year for this channel. I really think that things are going to really push forward for this, and I'm really fucking excited. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I want to thank you all again, and if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Coven.